Good afternoon. I'm Dara Bunjon. I'm the food enthusiast here at J More Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us live, drop your comments or your questions into the comment box, and you'll see me turn from time to time to check and see what questions or comments you have for me or my guest. Today's guest is Charlie Gjerde, and I always wonder if I'm pronouncing it right. It was 1991 when Charlie Gjerde and his brother Spike opened a landmark restaurant in Baltimore called Spike and Charlie's. Fast forward to 2024, and he continues his restaurateur title with a multitude of restaurants: Alexander's Tavern, Wicked Sisters, and multiple locations of Papi's taco joints. This is quite the journey, and we're going to look back on times here from Spike and Charlie's on up. So let's bring in Charlie.
Hello.
Hello, Charlie. Good to see you again after a number of years.
Yeah, a couple of lifetimes.
Well, considering what was it, we were talking 26 when you opened Spike and Charlie's, right?
That's correct. Yep, 26.
So just a couple of years ago, 1991. Ooh,
Yeah.
time flies by. So other than doing the show today, what else is on your plate? What else are you doing today?
Today, this is the life of a restaurateur. I hung a heat lamp at Wicked Sisters and then a couple fans in the outdoor patio. And then I came to Towson where we have Papi's Tacos. I mean, they had a leak, so I fixed that. Now I'm doing this, and then we're going to head down to Fells Point and have a meeting with some of the managers down there this afternoon. So that's pretty much every day.
Yeah, thanks for squeezing me. Lucky that you're handy. You're handy on
I've gotten
those
handy.
things.
Yeah, over the years, you kind of get used to it.
Well, you either have to learn or you have to pay the plumber, you have to pay the electrician. So you're good to go. Let's jump in my time machine, your time machine. It's 1991. Spike and Charlie's landmark restaurant. Let's talk about your brother Spike and you, and why did you open a restaurant? I think his degree was in Chinese and philosophy, yours was in business. How did this all come about?
Just sitting around with my parents and trying to figure out a direction in life. 26 years old. I was working at Lens Crafters, believe it or not. They had just opened up, and that's what I was doing straight out of college, pretty much. And we said, what should we do? Let's open a bike shop, and then we thought about a restaurant. My brother had kind of gotten into baking in college, and then he was working at up on Charles Street, and at a restaurant in the morning baking their desserts, and then he would do their lunch. And then we started talking about the restaurant. That would be a great idea. And then we connected with Bill Streever from Streever Brothers,
Right.
Eccles and Rouse, and he had this location. And looking back on it, it's just it's crazy. We took over Ethel's place, which was not only a restaurant but a jazz club. So it's kind of hilarious. Two young white guys running a jazz club. We could probably have done a mini series on that one.
Yeah. Well, I didn't remember you trying to run jazz down there. I just remember the talk of the town as to how innovative your brother Spike was in creating food. He was very early on farm to table, which is quite apparent. And if some people don't know, Spike has opened up his own restaurants and won so far the only James Beard Award chef for the Maryland area.
Right.
But
yeah,
paths go different ways. Spike and Charlie's, I remember, wasn't there a vault or something like that in Spike and Charlie's?
Right. Yeah, that was the main part of the bar. The back bar was a vault because it was like an old, like old gentlemen's club where they kept all their valuables way back in the day, like the Heptasofts or something like that. And so that was the main bar. We made that our wine room. So we were like, it's funny to think now that like we were a wine bar, and that doesn't seem like a big deal now, but back then we were,
Right.
working with people to get the wine cuvées or whatever that topped off the wine with gas so that you could keep bottles of wine and have them do them by the glass. A lot of people have those now, and it's not a big
Right.
deal, but back then it was a huge deal. And my brother, farmed a table. That was a big part of, that was unheard of back then. Nobody was doing that. And we asked for mixed greens, which you can't not get now. And back then everybody was
Right.
doing romaine or iceberg, and that was it. So we were getting mixed greens, and it was like a shock of the world.
And I remember my sister, who was very big on being in New York all the time. She says, "You must go," you know. And there was one dish that stuck out heads with some sort of um, walnut thing with it. It was a special. It was to die for. So we had Spike and Charlie's, the boys, as I would like to call you. Okay, the boys, you proceeded to open up more restaurants, which was Joy America, which was Atlantic and Juniors. Did I miss one in that group?
Nope,
Was
that was that. That was it. That was enough.
well, I'm just going to sit here. I'm having a problem again. Like I had last week. And here we go. There we go. I just want to make sure I get all the comments. Here we go. All right. I'm all set.
Just ignore the comments from my friends.
Okay. Okay. We'll see them. At least now I can see them and we'll go forward. The we sort of started talking about the state of the restaurant industry. What Spike has gone and opened his restaurants are more, I would call, high end. Um, yours are more casual,
Yeah, for sure.
and that is the path that Professor Jonathan Deutsch of Drexel's Food Lab said is where the growth is going to be. That and the super high end at the middle end restaurants, the ones in the middle, that hourglass effect, are going to have the struggle. And that the sweet spot is somebody's willing to spend $20 on something, and your restaurant meets all of them, fall into that category. You can go in and eat and have something. You're not spending $70 and you can get a full meal. Was that the initial goal or it just happenstance?
Well, when Spike and I parted ways, I was burned out with this, because we were right in the heart of the symphony crowd, and it was stressful running those restaurants because there was so much expected by everybody. Like the symphony, always everybody wanted to come in and sit at 6:30 and then be out by 8 and have the best meal they've ever had, and it's really stressful. In Atlantic, we were top restaurant. We were on Architect Digest and all these other things, and people came from all over to come there. And so to me, it was a conscious decision to step away from fine dining and the higher end restaurants. And it just so happens my wife's sister Carrie wanted to open a bar in Fells Point. So I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'll help you with that. I knew the food. She worked at Mother's for many years, and she knew the bar side of things. So that's where it all started for us. Like 17 years ago, we opened Alexander's Tavern,
Right.
and we wanted to do like bar food. And again, this is kind of funny to think back, but now it doesn't mean anything. But back in that day, back in the early 2000s, bar food was literally, the food truck would pull up with the frozen tenders and the lowest grade food. Everything was like the cheapest you could get because they didn't want to, spend any money on food. And then, we decided let's make food a higher level. Let's do bar food. It's going to be bar food. And we're going to have we had we still have two bars, and we have a small dining room. But wanted to make it a better experience for the people having bar food. And so that was the whole goal, uh, to be a little bit above the average bar.
Right. The thing that gets me in looking at the menus for Wicked Sister and the Papi's and Alexander's Tavern, that a lot of time went into developing menus. When I say that menus, there's a menu for everyone. There's a separate menu, full menu for anybody who's gluten intolerant. There's a full menu for people who are vegan, and having, weekly specials or daily specials that, Monday's hamburger day, Tuesday's this day, happy hour, everything that you're doing. A lot of thought went into these. And were you and Carrie, did you and your wife, is Carrie Laurie's sister? I'm
Yeah,
trying to
they're the
remember.
Wicked Sisters, actually.
Oh, that's where it came from.
Yeah, that's where
Okay.
it came from.
All right. I do have a question for you, and it's sort of addressed. It says, how do you manage the stress and pressure that operating multiple restaurant imposes? Any
Yeah, that's a.
outlet?
I play golf. um, the stress is, yeah, it can be. You can go a week with no problems, and then you can have a week where it's just massive problems and it never ends. And people ask me all the time, how do you deal with this? Whenever I'm golfing, I'm always on my phone dealing with some plumbing problem or something going on. So, uh, yeah, somehow you just have to compartmentalize it a little bit and just say, okay, this is the restaurants, and I got to go live my life a little bit. And but it gets tough. Uh, I also have great people. We have a director of operations now, which is, I still laugh a little bit that we have that, but because with 7 restaurants, we have to have more people that can oversee the actual operation. And the managers we have great managers. They've all been with us for many years. Like, we have most of our managers have been with us 10 to 12 years, which in the restaurant world is a lifetime. And
Well,
so a lot of the stresses that a normal restaurateur might face, have been eliminated by the people that I work with, or that work with me.
and it says a lot because you said they don't last long, and you must be treating them well. And obviously, you had these restaurants open during COVID, and you had to manage through there. And if the managers weren't in place, and if you weren't taking care of them, they wouldn't still be there. Um, Before I forget, we're glancing over Spike and Charlie's because it was near the Lyric Opera House where the symphony played, for those people who might be watching that aren't from Baltimore. Um, any funny stories or interesting stories about the symphony or guest, or any stories that you'd like to tell around a dinner table about Spike and Charlie's?
I mean, I could write a book. I should have written a book, because there's like, that was our first restaurant, 2 young guys. We did, we had the jazz club, which was a total disaster. And we could, there's a couple chapters right there of us throwing jazz shows that literally no one showed up for. For a minute, we turned the jazz, it was a 2-story jazz club, and it had a dance floor, and we turned that into a basketball hoop. And like so like, yeah, Spike and Charlie's was a rare thing, because we'd have 200 people show up between 6 and 6:30. They would all leave at 8 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock, especially in the beginning, we would have to wait until people trickled in for the second seating. And so there's a lot of downtime. There was this huge push, and then there was some downtime, and like one of our chefs went down and like twisted his ankle and had to go to the hospital after the first seating because we were playing basketball. And like, we had like a lot of like big famous people come through. I met Jerry Seinfeld. As Yo-Yo Ma did a cello version of Happy Birthday. Like, there was a group of like 12 people celebrating her birthday, and he came in after his performance, after the Meyerhoff had gotten out, heard it was her birthday, and went up and played her Happy Birthday on his cello, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So a lot of stories like that.
That's great. So you started off with Alexander's Tavern. You had taken a couple years off between Spike and Charlie's and Atlantic and Junior's and Joy America Cafe. And you go in with your sister-in-law and you open up Alexander's Tavern. And that was 2007,
Yep.
I think. And then your first Papi's was 2014?
Yeah, right around the corner, both in Fells Point. And that was right around the corner 10 years ago. We just had our 10th anniversary. And that's what really started us, on our, journey with Poppies. At the time, we were like, let's open up also, like, so in Fells Point, we knew the place was available because we're down there every day. And we're like, what does Fells Point need? At the time, it didn't have any Mexican. Now it's got a few, but at the time, it didn't have any Mexican. So we're like, let's open a Mexican restaurant. And then, we moved up to Hamden and looked at the opportunities and said, all right, let's open Wicked Sisters there. But eventually got back to realizing that every time you open a restaurant like that, you have to come up with a new menu. You have to, do drink list, all this stuff. And that's why we have five, at the moment, we have five Poppies, and we still love Alexander's and Wicked and would probably replicate those somewhere else if the place was right. But kind of focusing on the Poppies now as of moving forward.
Yeah, well, your friend Dave Stack wasn't really nice. He just made a comment.
Don't you?
He said the camera really adds on the pounds.
He's great.
Yeah, and Danielle is letting everybody know we're going to have a lot of these Pappy's coming up. Listed in the comments, links to all the restaurants: Pappy's Towson, Pappy's Ocean City, Pappy's Soha, and it won't load for me. I don't know what they were. Danielle's having a problem. They'll load, Danielle. Don't worry about it. It'll come up. So you were talking. What do you look for when searching out a new location for a restaurant? Because you're going to be you're growing Poppies. And what are you looking for? What location speaks to you?
So when we're looking up until now, we've kind of looked, and because we're Baltimore people, we know Baltimore. I mean, I've been in Baltimore my whole life. And so I know this area really well. Now we're kind of relying on people in other areas. Like we went down to Ocean City. We had a lot of input from people like Dave Stack on where, we should go down there because, I go to the Ocean City, but not very often. So we have to kind of rely on other people's input. But then we also for something like Poppies, we want to have, we want to be hopefully somewhere near a college. And we're here in Towson. We're right next to Towson University, and Loyola was right down the street because I think that's a big part of our group. But it's all ages and families, and so with the family part of it, that really checked a lot of boxes in Ocean City, and large groups. And so it depends on, it for the Poppies. We just like to be in a, we're not like, we don't want to be off the beaten path. We want to be right in the middle of whatever's going on. So in Ocean City, we're right on 15th Street on Coastal Highway. In Towson, we're right here and, right across from the big mall. Fells Point and obviously Hamden, we're right in the center of all that. So to us, that's the goal, is to pay a little bit more and be more towards where the action is, as opposed to being off the beaten path.
Right. And also, I think when you started off with Spike and Charlie's, it was like you didn't know to say, well, there's no parking around here, or so it's always looking, availability for people to access your restaurant. Wicked Sisters, which used to be McCabe's, if memory serves me.
Yeah.
And that restaurant, it was there for a long time. My in-laws' home was on Falls Road, maybe a couple blocks before Hamden, but it wasn't Hamden. And they were proud to say, we're not Hamden. We're, but they were close by, and they were always going to McCabe's. McCabe's was known for the hamburger. Well, Wicked Sister is known for its hamburger. What's unique about your hamburger?
Well, it's funny because we knew everybody loved their hamburger. So we like when we were taking it up, they had a fire, and so we spent about a year and a half renovating that building, tore it completely to the ground, and rebuilt it. And the whole time, people are like, "We want the McCabe burger." So we actually still have a McCabe burger on the menu, but our Insanity burger kind of is like a I don't know, like everything burger kind of thing. It's got everything on there. You got your cheese, tomato. We do a little shishito pepper on there. We do our wicked sauce, and it's just a big, juicy, yummy burger. And we have a
Yeah.
special blend that we get from our distributor for that for the meat. So it's a higher
Okay.
end.
What's it? Short rib? Short rib?
It's a combination of like short rib. I don't even know. I should know this, but I don't know the exact combination. But it's three different meats that are blended together.
Okay. Because I know it's tasty. I was in there, went there for lunch. Girlfriend and I went to Sherwood Gardens, so we popped in, and you have a lunch menu, you have a brunch menu, and you've opened up the patio. You have a really nice sized patio out back.
Yeah, we spent COVID completely redoing. We had the patio out back, but it had a lot of logistical issues. It was really hard to wait on people. It was really hard to get the food out there and everything, and music and everything else. So we spent the last part of COVID and going into the last couple of years to redo the patio. And actually, this year, the first year, we actually just had the big party on beginning of May for or April for a grand opening, sort of with everything where we wanted. We have pergolas out there and umbrellas, and the music's perfect, and it's a really nice setup. Like especially like today is amazing. I was just out there hanging the fans this morning, so
Yeah, well,
it's really
this has
nice.
not been the best spring season with all the rain that we've had, so I agree
Yeah,
with you. I can see beyond my phone to outside and see the blue sky, and happy with that. And you have valet parking at Wicked Sisters, and that's from when to when? That's evenings?
it's on the evenings. Wednesday through Sunday evenings, and then brunch Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, that's available for all those starting at 5 o'clock on the days that we're not open for brunch. On Saturday and Sunday, it's up and the whole time.
Right.
We're kind of
Well,
one good news is that we're kind of off the beaten path a little bit in Hamden, in the sense that we're not right on 36, which I know I go down there a lot to eat. I think it's a great place. All those places, the combination of shops and restaurants that are down there are awesome. But yeah, parking can be tight down there. But we're luckier that we're on Falls Road, and there's still a ton of street parking. A lot of times we don't like we would do valet on Mondays and Tuesdays, but there's so much street parking available. It seems kind of silly to do that at that
right.
point. But
And
so when
Pappy's in Hamden is it's a catty corner. It's fairly close to
yeah, it's less than a
what,
block away across the street.
and they have their own parking lot.
Yep, we have our own 28 spots, I think. So
Yep.
we saw that spot. Again, you're asking about how we pick our spots. We were at Wicked Sisters for a couple of years, and we said, if that was Dimitri's, that was one of those bars that opened at 6 a.m. and the people would line up at 5:30 to get in. And we said, if that ever opened up, and actually Jim Dimitri was a great guy. I've got to meet him a few times, and he said, I'm done. I'm down in Ocean City playing golf, and I'm happy doing that. And I said, let's work out a deal with this building. We don't own the building, but we talked to a developer who could buy it and then rent it to us. So that's how that whole thing went through.
Right. And Dimitri's, I'm just remembering from my mother-in-law had shrimp salad. Everybody would go there for their shrimp salad, I think.
Yeah, they didn't do food for the last like 3 or 4 years that they were open. The kitchen was completely covered in tinfoil. It
Sounds
was really
great.
kind of strange, but yeah, this is
It's
what it
one of
was.
those ones you shouldn't see. And the Pappy's brand has won many awards, Best Happy Hour, most recently for your Ocean City. Pappy's was also featured on the Cooking Channel Taco Trip with Aran Sanchez.
Yeah.
And Faith Pollock, your chef,
That
One Chopped on the Food Network.
Faith has gone on to bigger and better things, but back in the day when we had, I guess, just Papi's Fells, we went up to New York and she competed on Chopped and won the Cinco de Mayo episode. It was really exciting for us, a small little restaurant, to win. We had a big watch party and the whole place was packed, and she pulled it off. She was awesome.
Yeah.
And Ocean City, yeah, Ocean City is, it's we're trying to expand, and we've talked to people in the business world and the money world, and they said, you need to prove yourself outside of just the Baltimore area, because at the time we had just Fells Point and Hamden, and so we decided, all right, let's go to Towson, which is Baltimore County, and that's a little bit different, and it's in a shopping center, so that's different for us. And then we decided to go to Ocean City because that's a whole different world, and it's been a real learning experience on how the whole Ocean City restaurant cycle goes. In the off season, and Carrie, actually, my partner, is down there full time, and she's been putting in the hours down there, getting that, and it's just been amazing growth. Once you get kind of established down there, it's an amazing place to have a restaurant. Getting started was a little tough, but we're super happy now. Looking forward to an amazing summer.
Well, is this your second or third season down there?
This will be our third.
Okay, but you stay open year round?
We stay open year round. Carrie wants to open 365 days a year, but I think I've convinced her to close for a couple days here and there.
Yeah.
Because there's a growing group of people that stay year round, and it's getting bigger and bigger every year. And especially like during COVID, when we started looking at spaces, it was like, it was crazy down there. Now it's kind of gone back to a more very cyclical season. Summertime is packed, and then the off season is slower, but it's starting to pick up even more now with people retiring and heading down there more.
Yeah. The You had sent me, when I asked for materials, you sent me a label for this ale called OMG Pale Ale, and it's called Old Man Gjerde. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit of what you were doing with that ale and what's going on at the bars.
Well, as a restaurateur, you try to keep things fun, and it's always been a dream. Like, wouldn't it be great to have your own beer? In the old days, it would be nearly impossible to do that, and nowadays it's a lot easier than you think. And so we hooked up with Oliver Brewing. We did it originally through Brewer's Art, but we wanted to do a 16-ounce can, which that's the format that we sell it in now. And so it's a real fun project for us. We kind of make that our beer. It's a little bit heavier, not heavier, but higher alcohol content IPA, and we make that our featured beer during happy hours at all 7 of the restaurants. It's by Oliver Brewing, and they did a great job. We sat down with them, and they went through the different profiles on what we wanted, and they came up with this beer. And sure enough, yeah, like 2 months later, I had my own beer. It was pretty amazing. Now, whenever I go to a party, I always bring a 6-pack. I'm like, look at this. It's got my whole family on there and everything. It's fun.
That's great. And
Yeah,
that's you have 2 grown daughters. You're now empty nesters.
Yeah, empty nesting is the best. My oldest daughter is a senior at South Carolina, and my youngest daughter is at Fordham. She just started this year, so she'll be a sophomore next year.
Do you think any of them are going to go in the restaurant business?
Although this summer they both are. Delilah works at Towson as a waitress, and Emmy is the hostess at Wicked Sisters. So
okay.
they're lucky that they have sort of a built-in summer job when they come home, so they can just come home and they don't have to stress about that too much.
Right. In the comments, but just you'll see Papi's tacojoint.com, Alexander's Tavern.com, Wicked Sisters, plural, Hamden.com. And that's all up in the comments section. And we come to the final questions. Are you prepared, Charlie?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. If you wake up tomorrow morning with a new talent, what would the new talent be?
New talent. I think if I I would like to speak Spanish. I think that would be a great addition. Singing would be great, but I think learning Spanish or having Spanish overnight would be the most amazing thing.
Last week's guest, she said, stupid me, she said, I took French.
Yeah, me too.
And just because, we're a growing nation and there are a number of Hispanics, and when they're an important backbone to industry and what we're doing. So being able to speak would be great. If you go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Um, I think I would do, I think I would say, don't worry, everything's going to be all right. Because in this line of work, it's very stressful. You never know when the next major situation is going to happen. And I've gotten to the point now, knock on wood, now that I say this, but I feel like everything we can get through most obstacles at this point. So I think if I could just say to myself, don't worry as much about what's happening and just keep plugging away, keep working, keep your nose down and doing the restaurant thing that you're doing because it's going to work out. I think that would be a great piece of advice.
Okay. Now, we know that your brother Spike was the chef, but do you cook at all?
I do not cook except for I'm a grill master. I'm pretty good at grilling.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then you might have, I'll ask a question, have you had a major culinary fail?
The culinary fails, I mean, restaurant wise, we could do another hour on all the failed ideas that we've had. I think the ones that come to mind the most are at Wicked Sisters, we tried raclette cheese. Have you ever seen that cheese where
They
they scrape?
melted,
Yeah,
yeah.
like when you see the videos, everything's perfect, but in the real world scenario, people, as soon as you scrape it, then the cheese is hard again underneath, and you have to stick it back under the heat lamp, and like we were getting 10 orders at a time, and like it was taking forever, so we literally bought everything to have that, and then had to get rid of it all. I think the funniest fail we ever had was the donut. We did donuts. Alexander's. I went to a market and I saw this donut machine. You ever seen those where it's like a little, like a
Right.
highway of grease and the donuts go down, and it looks so easy when the guy was doing it. And so I got a donut machine for Alexander's, and we put donuts on the menu, and the chef was just so miserable because like it looks like it should work itself, but you have to constantly monitor it. As soon as you don't, they get stuck and then start mashing themselves into each other, and it turns out so she basically said like it's either me or the donut machine. I was like, all right, we're getting rid of it, and then like a week later, Baltimore Magazine came out and we won Baltimore's best donuts. So we had to keep it for like another 2 months. Every
Yeah.
day I was like, don't worry, chef, it's going away in 6 weeks, 5 weeks, like
Right.
counting down. But
Well, it's funny. Your wife posted since donuts at AT, Alexander's Tavern, just as you were saying it.
oh,
She was
really?
putting it up. Yeah, yeah.
Everyone remembers that one.
Yeah. What's the best bite you've had all week?
I think I'm gonna say, um, let's see. That's a good one. I would hate that. I want to say that one of the wings we had at Wicked Sisters was really good. It's a special wing, but actually, the best bite was I had crabs with my family in our backyard. It was the first day back with the two girls, and we had a good family dinner out back. And that I think sometimes the food is the focus, but
Secondary.
sometimes, yeah. In this case, it was just having them back home, and it's just fun to get everybody back together and sit out back. So I think that would be my best bite.
Okay. What didn't I ask you that I probably should have?
Um, I like, I mean, we talked about it for a second, but I think, the gluten-free thing that we do at Alexander's, and more so, and also at the other restaurants, but more so at Alexander's, has really been a big part of recent success for us down there. So I think, I think you touched on it, but I think for me, it's good to note that we literally have people, because down there we have a completely dedicated gluten-free menu. We do the best we can and with cross contamination, but we make it clear that we're not 100% on that, but we do offer as much as we possibly can, basically a full menu that's gluten free, and I think that's important
Yeah.
to note. And that we take all those vegan, vegetarian, gluten free. We try to make that it's sometimes you get a great restaurant like Papi's, and it's really hard. You have to kind of navigate it, but we try to make it very clear on all the menus exactly where we're going. And the other thing I always love talking about is my badminton team. I coach the badminton team at St. Paul's, and we just had our fourth straight victory. So, not that you would even know to ask that, but I'm going to bring it up
Well,
anyway.
well, you mentioned it when I got your bio. You had it, and
Oh, I did. Okay.
yeah, and you won the conference, isn't it? That you've won the conference?
Yeah, 4 years in a row we've done it. So that's my side hustle as a badminton coach.
I mean, did you play? How did that come about? I mean, come on. You're playing golf. Was it your girls that went to school and
Right. Yeah, my
somehow?
girls went to school there. I was literally at one of their conferences, and the woman that was her teacher was the badminton coach at the time. And she pulled a fast one. She's like, and I was like, "Oh, I would love to do that. I could be your assistant coach." And she's like, "Okay, just show up. I'll send you an email." I got the email, and I showed up, and it was me and the athletic director. And I was like, "Wait, where's so and so?" And she's like, "Oh, it's you. It's just you. She quit." And I was like, "Wait, I don't know anything about badminton." So I watched a whole lot of YouTube videos and then started coaching. And it's been fun. It's fun. It's great to connect with all of them and have the badminton championship.
Well, Dave and Laurie are saying you're the coach of the year.
Yeah, I did win that too. I don't like to brag, but I
But you
did win
did.
that. I should have
Yeah.
had the trophy here. That would have been perfect.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I will direct people even, to check out all the websites there in the comment box. And the menus look great. And like I said, it isn't like there's three vegan items or three gluten-free items. It's a whole menu on these specific menus at the Pappy's, at Alexander's Tavern, at Wicked Sisters. And go check out the new patio or the patio at Wicked Sisters.
Yeah.
Great hamburgers, good food, good times, good drink. I want to thank you, Charlie. I have a couple of announcements afterwards, but thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining
Dara.
us.
It was great seeing you again, like the old days.
Yeah, like the old days. Yeah, the good old days. Yeah, I loved it. It's always great to reconnect with people, and Charlie's just a joy. I had so many memories since Spike and Charlie's, and Spike did a cooking class for the Epicurean Club of Maryland. I think it was the first one he did. Oh, going way back. All right. So I know you're always curious to find out who's next week's guest will be Chef Mary Payne Moran. In 2002, Mary graduated culinary school, and her catering company's inaugural event was for Melissa McCarthy and Ben Falcone's wedding reception. This was the beginning of her high profile, profile, okay, we got it out, profile events. In 2007, Mary started teaching children about healthy eating and cooking, and the children she taught inspired her book, The Vita Gang Mysteries: Who Stole Vita? Join us as we delve into the fascinating career of Mary Payne Moran next week. Just to let you know, we were sort of talking about Hamden Saturday, June 1st, this Saturday from 12 to 7 p.m. Hamden Highlights is a new festival, local bands. Actually, there's going to be a bao bun eating contest, Ekaban's bao bun eating contest. Local vendors, local restaurants, artisans, fun for the whole family. Everything will be there on the avenue in Hamden. So the weather looks good. I checked it out. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day, no rain. So take the family and go on down to the avenue. And while you're there, visit Pappy's or visit Wicked Sisters. Okay, that sort of wraps it up. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at food at Jamer Living or Instagram at Dara Cooks. And I also maintain a Facebook page called the Food Enthusiast. All shows are immediately archived in video form on Jamer's Facebook page and jamerliving.com. We truly appreciate it when you share our show with friends and family. May your plates always, always remain full. I hope to see you next Thursday, sorry.